This is the pre-holiday ADHD reset that I've put together for everyone, and I'm so glad that you've all managed to show up. I know that the holidays can be incredibly hectic, incredibly overwhelming, especially with ADHD. So we are going to be covering a decent amount. Um, I know it seems like a lot, but some of you know who I am already. Some of you don't. So I'm gonna let you know a little bit about myself. Gonna talk a little bit more about why the holidays are so much harder and seem so much harder with ADHD than what you see with other folks who are either neurotypical or especially what it seems like everyone is posting on social media, and it seems like they're just breezing through the holiday season. Really, kind of how ADHD makes everything a roller coaster around this time of year. How this relates to the eight dimensions of wellness, what that is, how that ties into the eight brocade of wellness, what that means. Gonna take you through a little bit of a mindfulness exercise to help start bringing you down, give you and start and that lead that into getting the tools that you need to start moving forward. And then we're going to really start talking about what that means to amplify your success here. And because this is an ADHD conversation, of course there are squirrels. I promise this should be the last squirrel. I don't know how they get in here. They get into every conversation because it's ADHD and you can't have conversations without squirrels. I'm sorry, they get in there. They try to keep them out, but they get in. So I am Seth Rotman. I'm a board certified nurse coach. And what that means is basically think of it like taking a registered nurse, a holistic wellness coach, a life coach, and for me, also an ADHD certified service provider, mashing that all into one, and you get me. I was a bedside nurse for over a decade. I've worked in pretty much every area of nursing aside from management because no. Um, and I've been trauma certified. I worked through the pandemic. I have ADHD myself. I'm a martial artist, so I with all of that, being a martial artist, being a competitive athlete, I and having ADHD, I have struggled with depression, with issues around food, with PTSD, with all of this myself. And really, that is why what I do is so important to me because I know how much bad information is out there. I know how much difficult information there is to wade through. So really, between the nurse brain and the ADHD brain, my goal is to make the ADHD journey as manageable as possible for other folks and to really shorten that learning curve so that you don't have to have that 40 plus year learning curve like I did. You can do it in months. You can do it in less than a year and start moving forward and thriving and seeing progress as opposed to waiting 10 years before you see progress. Now, I really want to know what has you the most stressed. And actually, I really want to know, you know, do you think that the holidays are hard before you even answer these questions? Do you think that the holidays are made harder, by having ADHD? Or do you think that it's the same for you as everyone else? You can put it in the chat, you can chime in. This is where I want to hear from you. Guys, don't leave me hanging. What do you think? Is it harder? Is it easier?
I mean, I think it depends. If if there's family stressors, then I think it can be harder. But if it's just, doing your own thing and, making the holidays what you want to be, then it can be easier. I mean, for myself, I'm not feeling like too stressed about the holidays. I think my stress is more like work related, but it's like tying into the holidays as, people are taking off and, eh, what am I doing with work? But it's not it's not going to be too difficult.
I think that's where it really, actually all ties together because everyone thinks about the holiday season as really winding down, but there a lot of times there really are there can be demands with family, right? There can be those increased demands from work when you're trying to wrap everything up quickly. But the other piece that I think that gets forgotten about is the fact that there's so much more out there to that we have to deal with just even going out and about. When you're going out, you know, there's so much happening. You have to deal with everything that's already going on at home. But now you also have to deal with the fact that there are more crowds, everything's louder, there's endless music, there's more lights. So there's so much more stimulation going on. There's a disruption to your routine. And if you're managing your ADHD, it's because you have a good routine down, right? That part of that is strong routine, and the holidays are everything but routine. You have to do different shopping. You have to travel. You have to get out and make sure presents are bought, wrapped, and then you have to deal with the traffic also. Traffic is so much worse this time of year. Plus, there are unrealistic expectations from often from work, from family that we put on ourselves. That all of that gets internalized. It becomes even harder with time blindness. That bumps up those cortisol levels because just that constant stress that is going on, you're not sleeping as well, you're running around more, you're under constant stress. That increased cortisol level adds to your sleep being thrown off. It means that you're not going to be eating as well, you're not taking care of yourself the same way. And then you're looking at, RSD, rejection sensitivity dysphoria, which is the most common unofficial symptom that goes along with ADHD. That's when you respond in a more heightened state to negative feedback, whether it's real or imagined. And the thing with RSD is that even a neutral reaction can get taken as negative. So it can put you in a really difficult position this time of year. Combining those unrealistic expectations with RSD, how many of you, and you can just raise your hands, spend time trying to find the perfect present for each person on your list? Uh-huh. Yep. Everyone's hand just went up. And how does it feel when they aren't over the moon when they see that present? Hmm. That is that reaction. It's those unrealistic expectations, not only that you're putting on yourself, but now that you're projecting on others. That's part of what makes the holidays so much more difficult with ADHD. And then you add time blindness on top of that, trying to get out the door, trying to get everything done, trying to, while you're trying to be quote unquote perfect, it's a really good way to make yourself miserable and burn yourself out. And this leads you to the ADHD roller coaster. I'm going to make all of you dizzy with this slide. Uh, But this is really what it is. You have the really high highs because you're riding that dopamine where you get excited, you find the perfect you that what you think is the perfect thing, you get to go out, you get invited to things, you have those highs, but then you get burned out. Your social battery burns out. You feel that people don't have the response that you wanted them to have. So you have those really low lows and it is up and down and you are getting whipped around all over the place. And that's what makes it a roller coaster ride through the holiday season, especially when you have ADHD. I mean, it's bad enough for everyone. But when you are dealing with this, I'll I'll take it off that slide so you guys just don't keep getting dizzy. But but it can be so hard when you are dealing basically with that not only emotional whiplash, but also that chemical whiplash in your own head. And it leads to a dopamine crash, which basically anyone with ADHD has experienced. That is that point where you have flipped that switch and you have been on, just on for so long. And then you get home, you're absolutely exhausted. And then you hit that really low low and you're like, I'll be fine tomorrow. I just need to sleep it off. But you are not okay the next day. You are still wiped out. It's like going through withdrawal. You are dragging, you have the headache, you can't get yourself together. It is that level of fogginess that coffee and medication still don't touch. And that's because with ADHD, you already have a depressed level of dopamine. That's part of what creates that fogginess and other issues. And then when you get that really high and that overstimulation and everything's going on, it feels good for your brain, even if it doesn't always feel good for you. Like your brain likes it. It's kind of the same way that even if you don't want to be in a fight, you kind of lean into it because the argument kind of feels good because your brain likes it. So it's that same thing. It's that dopamine kick. And this is from riding that roller coaster. You go up too high and then you drop so low. And then during the holiday season, when everyone's inviting you out to every holiday party, especially when you're involved in multiple groups where you work, friend groups, networking groups, everything, there are just endless events. And this is where it feels so exhausting that you pull back and you start isolating and don't you don't want to people anymore. And this is becomes a really difficult time of year for that because then people start wondering, okay, what's going on? Why don't they want to come out? Why don't they want to be involved? And most folks don't have the words to explain what's going on, and that makes it really difficult. And then there's other judgments that come with that. And I know you guys are getting frustrated with me. You're like, yeah, I know we live this. Why are you telling me all of the downsides of ADHD during the holidays? That's not what we're here for. I promise. Stay with me. We're gonna go through all of this. And actually, before we even move on, I want to share a story with you for like just how crazy things can get. I mean, this I know that we're more towards, you know, Christmas, Hanukkah, and Kwanzaa now. This is a Thanksgiving story, but it trust me, it holds. What I do now is not my first rodeo with entrepreneurship. My first time around, I had actually started a gourmet hot sauce company, and I ran it out of my parents' kitchen. That meant that I needed to get the kitchen certified by the state as a professional kitchen. The only time that the state could come was the day that we were doing an early Thanksgiving. Let me set the stage for you here. I have my aunt and cousin coming up from Florida. I have two local cousins who are elderly who are going to be coming over who were told, please do not come early. We have the kitchen being inspected. We need to make sure the house is empty. My grandmother was in the house because she was there to help. And my grandfather was in the side room on his deathbed. So so at one point, my mom gets a call. My cousin's flight coming up from Florida has been diverted. They're going to Newark, New Jersey. She needs to go pick them up. They have no other way to get there. So she and my dad leave the house. It's me on my own waiting for the guy from the state to show up. She asked my grandmother ahead of time, "Hey, can you put the turkey in early just so that the kitchen can stay clean?" No. 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 This woman has been running Thanksgivings her entire life. She's in her 80s at this point. No. Fine. The guy from the state comes. 5 minutes later, the cousins who are not supposed to show up early show up and they are needy. So every 5 minutes, I'm getting, Seth, can you come help us? Can we have a drink? Can we? Okay, fine. Running around, showing the guy around the kitchen, trying to take care of them. As this is all going on, that is when my grandmother decides, I'm going to bring the turkey up from the basement. No, you can't bring the turkey up from the basement. Now it's being inspected. Takes the turkey back downstairs. Guy's still inspecting the kitchen. Grandfather's still dying. Cousin's still needing things. Grandmother tries to bring the turkey up again. So no, take the turkey back to the basement. Turkey goes back downstairs. Cousin still needs things. Grandfather's still dying. Kitchen is still being inspected. Third time turkey comes upstairs. My parents are still out of the house. My cousin's flight from Florida is still running late. Kitchen is still being inspected. I'm running back and forth. Finally get my cousin settled with drinks and nibbles. My grandfather is still dying in the other room. That doesn't change. Then the turkey tries to come up again. Grandmother finally gets the message after that one. Inspection is finally over and it is done. That was the course of 45 minutes. You don't know what the holidays are going to bring, how you're going to have to juggle it, and what time you're going to have to suddenly have to manage, or what personalities you're going to have to deal with. The highs and lows that come with the holidays can be surprising and unbearable, and I can't even describe the crash that came after that one. So be prepared, and that's why, we're here to go over the tools for how to survive these things. I hope no one has a holiday like that one. Now, these are the 8 dimensions of wellness. This is basically what makes you you. I want to ask you, what do you think ADHD impacts? Which dimension do you think ADHD touches on?
Everything.
Exactly. Which is why I don't like this model. This is the traditional model, and I have never liked this one. When I was getting trained as a nurse, when I was getting trained as a coach, this always rubbed me the wrong way because everything is impacted, especially by ADHD. And I'll be honest, I didn't like leaning into ADHD originally, but it's because it was so close to home. And now I can't imagine doing anything other than this. But I reimagined this model. I didn't reinvent the wheel, but I reimagined this model to look like this because everything is impacted, and anything that you start to address touches on everything else. So this is the 8 brocade of holistic wellness. Basically, it's a different way of thinking about things. This is important because as you learn the tools to manage ADHD, as you move forward, and as you really start to embrace how to move forward as a whole, it is so important to recognize that you can't pick and choose which parts of yourself you want to change and think that there aren't going to be changes in other parts of your life. If you say that you want to focus on areas in your job, you can't pretend that it's not going to impact your health, your exercise, and potentially your relationships. So all of these things, they all play together. Now, mindfulness is a key piece. This is the first piece of how you move forward with managing ADHD. This is a cornerstone of what I use with clients, what I use with companies, what I use in my own everyday life. And there are three keys with mindfulness to make that makes mindfulness mindfulness. And I want to be clear, mindfulness is not meditation because I think especially when you have ADHD, meditation is initially one of the scariest words that you can deal with. You get you you get this idea of I have to sit still, I have to only focus on this one thing, and that's really not what it is. The three keys of mindfulness are awareness, intention, and non-judgment. Awareness is simple in concept, a little bit more difficult in practice. It's noticing and paying attention, which honestly with ADHD is kind of all we do. Um, with everything we know we're but this is doing it in a focused way. Intention is making the conscious choice to engage. And non-judgment is exactly that. It's placing no judgment on the thing that you are being conscious of and that you're being aware of. It's making no judgment about is it good or bad? Is it positive or negative? So when you can combine awareness, intention, and non-judgment, you're practicing mindfulness.
Mm. Can I jump in for 1 sec?
Absolutely.
So we listen and we don't judge.
We listen and we don't judge. But it's not necessarily only listening. So I everyone who's on the call right now, I'm gonna send you a little ebook at the end that has 5 mindfulness practices in it. And it can be listening, but it can also be looking, general awareness. That's its own thing. There's a description. The description of that is just kind of taking everything in that's around you. Looking, looking is my favorite one to get people started with because it's taking any object that's around you and choosing any amount of time that you want to do this for. 2 minutes is usually a really good place to start, and looking at it like it's the first time you've ever seen that thing. Look at every detail of it. Like first thing I first thing I grabbed, I've got stim mags here because of course I do. Um, but if I were to look at these and turn them, I'm going to look at the color, the texture, every single detail about them in every way for 2 minutes. So I'm being intentional about it. I'm taking everything in, I'm being aware of it, but I don't have to assign anything positive or negative to that. It's be being intentional not just about the observing, but also being intentional about not assigning judgment to it. Even if it was cracked, even if it was worn, not making that judgment. Or even if you're aware of that, not assigning, good or bad to that. because it's not necessarily good or bad. It just is. And then it become as you work on the exercises, you're able to internalize that process. There are other exercises not only for emotional regulation, but also for being more present and enjoying things more. There's mindful eating, which is doing the same thing and being aware of chewing, being more aware of the texture, the flavor, and it's a way to enjoy your food even more. And that doesn't mean that you never assign good, bad, or otherwise. Because if you ate a meal mindfully and then someone asked you how it was and you said it was food, that probably would not be a great great response. But if in the moment of eating you chew it and eat it mindfully and then afterwards recognize the enjoyment, it's an entirely different experience. It's kind of like what they do with those meals in the dark. They just keep getting in here. I don't know. I'm gonna get an exterminator for these talks. So if it's okay with you guys, I would love to take you through a mindfulness exercise. I'm gonna ask you to find a comfortable position. If you're okay with it, let your eyes gently close. Start by taking a deep cleansing breath. And then take another. And we're going to be doing a body scan. What I want you to do is settle into your chair and let yourself breathe. Just start by breathing. And let yourself relax back into the chair. As you breathe, become aware of the top of your head. Feel the sensation there, and then start to work your way down. Being aware of any sensation in your scalp, down into your neck. And when you come to any points of tension, focus on them, breathe into them. And as you breathe into those tension points, as you exhale, blow the tension out and let those muscles relax. Continuing to breathe, moving down from your neck to your shoulders. Being aware of any tension that you find, breathing into it, breathing deeply, exhaling the tension out. Breathing in, exhaling out. Becoming aware of your arms, starting at the top, working your way down to your elbows, through your forearms, to your wrists, all the way down to your fingertips. Anywhere you find tension, recognizing it, finding it, breathing deeply, letting those muscles relax, exhaling and letting that tension go. Continuing to breathe, work your way down your back. Find those tension points. Breathe into them. Take deep breaths, inhaling and exhaling. Being aware that the tension is there, letting it go as you breathe, holding no judgment, letting it all go with each breath. Working all the way down to your lower back. Doing the same as you work around to your stomach, being aware of each muscle. Breathing in and out, finding any tension, letting it go. Working down through your hips, your legs, to your knees. All the way down through your calves, your feet, and down to your toes. Recognizing those tension points, letting yourself breathe, letting the tension go, and allowing your body to relax. Breathing in and out, letting those tension points go with each exhale. When you're ready, take 3 deep cleansing breaths in and out. 2 in and out. Last one, in and exhale. And when you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes. How does everyone feel after that?
I feel like I need to stretch.
That's fair.
So like I could, there were times during, the exercise where I could like feel the tension and then I could just feel myself getting like feeling jittery, like feeling like I just needed to get out and like just stretch it out for some reason.
Your body gives you a lot of feedback with that exercise, especially because it's tapping into all those points in your body that you ignore most of the day because that's what lets us function. And suddenly you're paying attention to them and tuning into them one at a time and giving each one individual attention. So now each one of those points is giving you feedback. So that feeling of needing to get up, move, stretch, feeling jittery, it's your body's way of telling you, hey, get up, move, stretch, take care of these spots. But now you know where those spots are. That's that's part of the reason of the body scan. There's so much that we ignore that's constantly going on in our own body. And this was a very short and quick, gentle one. that I just took you through, you can do a very deep one on your own and take more time to pay more attention to every little area um, as you go through that. And then that can give you even more feedback. Now, now that you're kind of all brought down, I want to talk about what are the essentials of surviving the holidays. And it comes down to two words and three tools. That's really what I've distilled it down to for this. The two words are just and should. These are probably the two most important words in dealing with ADHD. How often have these two words come up in your everyday, in your life, in your jobs? These are the most impactful words that are out there, especially when you're neurodivergent. And during the holidays, these two words are how we burn ourselves out. These are how we make ourselves feel terrible. These are how we set unrealistic goals. And this is how you get caught up in the social media spiral of trying to compare yourself to that one perfect picture that you saw someone else post. For those reasons, in my practice, these are never words. These are words that the the only purpose that they serve is to shut the door on conversation. Just do it. I should be able to get it done. I just need to finish all of this today. I just need to get that work done. I should have been able to finish that project. I should be a better cook. Why? That's not none of that is realistic. None of that is actually having a real conversation with yourself, with anyone else. So I want you to be mindful about using these words and catching yourself using them. I want you to challenge yourself to have the full conversation when you do catch yourself. When you tell when we internalize these words, that's when it's really harmful because that's when you're shutting the conversation down with yourself and creating those unrealistic expectations and not having those conversations with yourself. And really, during the holidays, the worst thing that you can do is combine these two words, and it usually comes out as I should just buy it. That's impulsive spending. Now, when you open the door to these conversations, when you back away from them, when you catch yourself saying these things, I should be able to, I just need to. When you follow that up with, wait, why? Why should I be able to do this? Or how? How is this something I just need to be able to do? Finish that conversation in your head and you realize you're probably being unrealistic. And when you finish that conversation, you can bring yourself down to a much more sane place. These two words keep you trapped in the emotional spiral. And by moving away from them, you can actually keep yourself grounded more in reality. Now, the three tools. Number one, prioritize self-care. Before I tell you what self-care is, what do you guys think I mean by self-care?
Things that keep you calm.
Calm is good.
Boundaries.
What was that? I'm sorry.
Boundaries.
Yeah. I mean, it really is the things that take care of you, all of it. So calm, mindfulness, the things that you don't think about, drinking water, getting enough sleep, making sure that you're getting exercise, even if it's going out and going for a walk. The things that you need to do to stay balanced, to stay on top of being you and not getting caught up in the whole spiral. Setting boundaries. Setting boundaries is one of the most important things that you can do. People with ADHD are terrible at boundaries. So many people with ADHD get caught in the people pleasing mindset. Or that also that perfectionism mindset, those unrealistic expectations again. Whether you're at an event, whether this is with friends, whether this is with family, there are going to be demands. That doesn't mean that you say no to everything, but you need to know your limits. And when you know your limits, you can set your boundaries. You can say, I need to take a break. Or you can tell people, these are things I can't do. The important thing about setting boundaries is that they have to be firm. If you let people cross them, it's not a boundary. I want you to shift the idea of setting a boundary in your head from the idea of this is a thing that I say. Instead, I know a lot of people talk about it like drawing a line in the sand. People still cross lines in the sand. I know that that's a whole like, declaration of war thing, but I want you to think about the idea of creating a boundary as you have created a cliff. There's nowhere to go on the other side of that cliff. So there's nowhere for people to edge over. There's no, well, let's just push a little further. If people push a little further on that boundary, they fall off. If that's what they want to do, let them and hold firm. And the third is plan on how to self-regulate because it can be overwhelming. The At family functions, at parties, at everything else, it can be difficult, especially when even just the amount of energy it takes to filter conversations through all of the noise, it can be a lot. So plan ahead. If you know how to know where your body tells you that you need to take breaks, if you need to step outside for a couple minutes, do that. Bring noise canceling headphones or earbuds, whatever you need to do for with that. This ties into setting those boundaries. If you need to step outside and people try and keep you in, tell them, no, I need to step outside. I need 5 minutes, or I need, to go into the guest room by myself for a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that. So these three areas are so important. And these are the three things. I actually want to go back to setting boundaries again. Set boundaries with yourself too. Setting boundaries isn't just for other people. Setting boundaries is with yourself as well. You need to know your limits and when you tell yourself I am not going to, don't do whatever that thing is. Or if you say I'm going to leave by, do that. Now this is where it gets important because you need to be able to amplify your success. And one of the most important pieces of that is accountability. Everyone does better with an accountability buddy. Now, who that accountability buddy is can be up to you. Sometimes a friend is great, but friends can honestly can be unreliable for accountability. Family members can be too close, and then there can be that emotional clash. Um, I mean, that's why a coach can for ADHD can be great because it's someone that you are accountable to, who is not going to judge you, who is not going to be harsh, who's also not going to be disappointed. It's just someone who is there to hold you accountable and make sure that you are achieving your goals. You want to increase your resilience. You can do that by being part of a community, which I know a number of you are, which also breaks the isolation. You want to be connected to people, which again, see how all of these things are connected? I'm really about the whole interconnected thing. Breaking the isolation helps keep you accountable. And then as you work through all of these, you gain deeper insights, you get more support. All of these things work together. It helps you reach your goals faster. As you reach goals, it builds resilience. It all feeds together. There's another squirrel. I'm sorry. They keep getting in. I don't know what to do about it. I am so sorry. So broken page. Okay. So Era's gonna drop a couple links and a code in the chat for everyone. Um, I want to thank you all for joining me today. And I really want to encourage you to really focus on what you can do to increase your accountability. I do want to let you know that I am offering a mastermind program now where we meet twice a month, and it is here for you to support you. And as my holiday gift to you, there was a QR code and an image here, and I have no idea how it broke in the last 15 minutes. But there is the link to that in the chat. The mastermind program, we meet twice a month. And this is building a community of professionals with ADHD, supporting each other, getting coaching from me at the same time. And the coupon code that is in the chat now also as my holiday gift to you for coming to this is giving you $200 off the first month. So that brings the first month down to only $50. And so I really want you to be able to come and join, be part of this community. If you feel like you want a higher level of accountability, the second link is for a discovery call. We can talk about the other coaching services that I offer, the one-on-one coaching, what else is available to you. So I am here to support you. I appreciate all of you for coming to this. If you have more questions, want to learn more about ADHD, how you can be supported, please book that discovery call so that we can talk more.